Hello and welcome to Bharat Shakti. I am Nitin Gokhale. Military modernization or Sainya Adhunikaran, as they say in Hindi, has been a subject of discussion, debate across the government as well as, of course, in the armed forces. And the Indian Army, as the biggest arm of the three armed forces, always grapples to balance the budgetary allocation and its increasing requirements, given that the nature of warfare, the character of warfare keeps evolving, changing in some cases. And the discussion is always about how do we remain uh, fixed on the ultimate aim of winning the wars. Now, can the wars be won with imported technologies, imported weapons and platforms, or they have to be indigenized, they have to be fully Atmanirbhar, as they say in Hindi? All that is the debate that happens. And today, I'm really privileged at Bharat Shakti that I'm joined by the Central Army Commander, Lieutenant Anindya Sen Gupta. And in this discussion, we have tried to broaden the scope of the subject by bringing in Ambassador Yash Sinha, India's former ambassador to High Commissioner to Sri Lanka and UK. Also, someone who's handled the Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran desk in his long and distinguished diplomatic career. Lieutenant Raj Shukla, well known now, I call him author and thinker, strategic thinker, but of course, army veteran, former army commander of the Army Training Command, and a gunner himself, but someone who keeps up with the developments in modern technology for warfare and how it impacts warfare. And my colleague and co-passenger, Anil Padmanabhan, former editor of the Mint newspaper, but now freelancer and independent writer, and someone who does a program also on our sister channel, Strat News Global, well-known economic and financial journalist. So welcome all of you gentlemen for this discussion. Thank you very much for joining. So let me start with General Sen Gupta. You just recently held this Not Tech Symposium, and this has been a new trend in the army over the past 4 or 5 years. That while Def Expo happens on a central scale or a larger scale, but every command now also organizes what should we call industry user interaction, where you sort of look at the industry's capability or they showcase their capability and you tell them what your requirements are. How was that experience, and what is the outcome of that particular edition of Not Tech? Because it happened in your area of responsibility in Prayagraj. It was called Not Tech, but it was a combination of Central Command and Northern Command. So, your first thoughts on that?
That's true, Nitin. Firstly, let me thank you for inviting us for this show. And I would like to express my feelings on modernization and how it is linked to Nortech. Because while these symposiums, as you had said, has been going on for quite some time, we had organized even in Leh and even in Udhampur and Nagrota in the last few years. But what we had organized this time in Prayagraj did attract a larger number of manufacturers, innovators, researchers, as well as academia. So it was rightly called a sangam of academia, manufacturers, and the soldiers. What we expected there was that we were able to get a glimpse of what the future holds, how it can be developed in India as a form of Atmanirbhar, and how we as an army or armed forces will modernize in the future. While modernization earlier was taken as equipment procurement leading to platforms getting inducted, today modernization is actually a change in the mindset, which is we want to change the processes for procurement. We want to delve into new domains, which we shall discuss how technology has evolved.
Yes.
And we also want to work with the academia and the industry as to how to become modern. So the mindset change on our side has also to be reciprocated what is there on the other side. and we have to work as a team, which finally will lead to a whole of nation approach.
Sure. Actually, I think you hit the nail on the head, because earlier the armed forces were closed as far as academia and industry was concerned. It was very difficult to have interaction. Now you are doing the outreach as far as industry is concerned, academia is concerned. You are going out there and telling them, this is what we need, this is our requirement, what can you offer? Problem statements are given, something of that kind. But prioritizing capability is also another issue. That how do you have the mix of near obsolescent equipment, then maybe legacy equipment, and then finally the most modern or future equipment that you plan for. How do you balance that requirement as far as budgets are concerned? Because you handle budgets also.
Modernization in the past, or what we also want to become Atmanirbhar currently. In the past, modernization was aimed based on a prediction of next 5 years, what do we want to procure, so that after 5 years, in the next plan, we are able to have that capability to match whatever is the threat perception we try to forecast, which will happen after 5 years. But with the rapid development of technology, the advances that have been made world over, as is being seen in the current conflicts, whether in Iran, Ukraine, in our neighborhood also, it is evident that the prediction what could be done for 5 years, we are lucky if we are able to do it even for 5 months now.
Exactly.
And so, trying to say today what capability I require after 5 years is a very, very complex thing to do. So, being in the business of warfare, it is extremely important that we are able to predict the threat. The current prediction of the threat is based on a lot of things happening around the world.
Sure.
And while the NORTEC and other events have given us a glimpse of how technology is changing the character of warfare, we as the Indian Army and the Indian Armed Forces will be fighting all the 5 generations of warfare together.
True.
Whether from massed forces to info and perception management. So it's very difficult for us to have an overall capability development, and we can't follow that one size fits all model currently.
So that is going to be the big change that has happened in the last 3 or 4 years. We'll talk about that, but let me come to General Raj Shukla, who has also now seen post your superannuation. The industry, you did that during your tenure as Army Commander of the Army Training Command also. How does technology play into this planning of enhancing capability or building capability of armed forces? That needs to be, sort of elaborated a little bit to begin with, and then we'll come into other details as far as this is concerned.
So, firstly, thank you, Nitin and Bharat Shakti, for getting us together in this wonderful place. And I must, if I can, put on record what Anindya as GOC&C Central Command has been doing for the last 2 years. He's been really pushing this ideation bit. It was strategic communications. We took a de novo look at the Chinese, not tech symposium, and now this. So, I mean, that's something we must really be grateful to him for. See, Nitin, the point is this. Even as you were asking this question, a thought crossed my mind. The time when we did High Command did operations, and the infra capability stuff was done by CDM. No, it was a fact.
True.
The guy who changed this was Subrata Saha.
Yes.
Subrata Saha said, without capability, you're nothing. I mean, when I was High Command Wing Commander,
Yes.
he had come. हमारे syllabus में capability था ही नहीं, हम operations ही करते थे.
You're talking about Lieutenant General Subrata Saha.
Yes.
That's right.
And he changed this. He was, I think,
CDS.
Commander, High Commander.
after that, technologies. But today, I'm saying it's going far beyond technology. So I've scribbled some notes because I want to drive this point with great precision. And what am I saying? I'm saying that the character of war and the business modeling, so the means of delivery,
Sure.
our PSUs are seriously challenged. Can they deliver on this innovation which is happening every 2 weeks? So both are transforming beyond measure.
Sure.
Look at the rate at which, or the speed at which, the future is becoming the present. So just what 5-6 months back, if I spoke to you about AI, military autonomy, algorithmic warfare, they were comfortably in the future. If I tell you that this trio of AI, military autonomy, and algorithmic warfare have already been sent into combat. They are happening. If we are not doing it, you are missing the bus.
Sure.
They are racing ahead of you. And why not? This is from a very deep CSI study where they say AI, military autonomy, and algorithmic warfare are poised to enhance battlefield lethality by 10 times over the next 2 years. Now, if as soldiers we are not investing in it adequately, you are missing. You began by saying what matters to a soldier: readiness, lethality. तो अभी वो लॉजिस्टिक्स वाली बात नहीं है.
Exactly.
पहले हमारे टाइम में क्या था, चाहिए AI परेशान करे उसको बोलो यार लॉजिस्टिक्स में लगा दो. It's not there. It's lethality.
Exactly. No, just look at that rescue of that Apache pilot. The autonomous boat went in to get the thing. Look at that example.
Exactly. So I'm coming to that now.
Ah.
And look at this. It is not only a national security imperative, it is a business opportunity.
Sure.
So how? Much of the $9 trillion today that AI is pushing into the global economy, I don't have exact figures, but I'm very sure 50 to 60% is coming from defense and national security. Anduril, Palantir. Palantir today has got a valuation bigger than Boeing.
Right. Absolutely.
It's happening.
Yes.
So I'm saying in India, we are uniquely poised because we have threats, there is a national security requirement, and there is a business opportunity. To see the business opportunity, you should have come to Prayagraj. Look at the startups. वो आ रहे हैं, उनको orders चाहिए. अब वो orders, we have to put that act together.
Right.
And okay. So I'm saying now the time has come for the infusion of AI, military autonomy, and algorithmic warfare into the combat flows of the joint force.
Right.
Combat flows. And across the domains of intelligence, operations, targeting, and logistics. So I'll just take 1 or 2 minutes more. I want to just explain with practical examples what's happening. So, okay, let me make this assertion also. And there are two overwhelming factors. So, budget 27 talks of 2 lakh crores for modernization. I make the plea that if at least 40 to 50% of these 2 lakh crores are not being spent on things like data readiness, and let me tell you, it's a huge challenge.
Yes.
The American military fell short of data. They had to reach out to AUKUS, conduct exercises to get data. Right. So data has to be created. It has to be labeled. It has to be integrated. So it's an exercise by itself. Cloud infra, digital encryptors, training of algorithms,
Sure.
LEO capacities in space, LLMs, agenting AI. And we need to develop 3 softwares. Now, we were always told that we are brilliant at software. So here is a challenge for us. Build Delta, build Maven. What does it happen? Delta in Ukraine is an AI-enabled data analytics system where 10 data streams are fused into one. Put software engineers into it. They should build it.
Exactly.
The Americans have copied Delta into Maven. And there's a lovely book which has come out 2 weeks back by Katrina Wilson. It's called Maven. Read it. It's a bestseller. To see how it was a 15-year enterprise in the USA.
Right.
If we start today, maybe 5 years down the line, we will get to it.
Very quick thinking, actually. Yes.
And this point is here. What is it going to do? Why? If it is going to increase your lethality by 10 times, this is the time. If we infuse AI, autonomy, and algorithmic warfare into our combat flows, it will change the deterrence equation in the subcontinent.
True.
We will get combat overmatch with Pakistan and asymmetric deterrence with China. So it's what do they say? It's not leapfrogging. It is far more than leapfrogging. True. And I see a national security imperative, a business opportunity. We are good in software.
So on that note, on business opportunity, I must turn to Anil and look at how businesses are looking at this. Budget is one thing. Government allocates budget. It's always finite. So bang for the buck is what we are looking at. Whether we get 20% kept aside for immediate requirements rather than well planned 5 years requirement or not. I think that is also being thought about. But your thoughts on how the military and the strategic planning or thoughts should also be a business opportunity for businesses. You actually talk to so many businesses and business leaders. So your thoughts on that?
Thank you, Nathan, and thank you for having me here, General. So, you're spot on. When you yourself have done a series on from the shop floor, which has taken us into the factories run by the private sector. So, my own sense from whatever both the generals just said is that the decision making is now yesterday and not even today. So, to me, the biggest motivator for business of defense is de-risking. Any entrepreneur will look to mitigate risk when they get into any business. Defense all the more, because there is it's such a closely guarded territory. So what Sindoor did, I think, is change the mindset that the general was talking about. That there was a certain mindset which prevailed. I don't know what the defense forces thought behind the scenes, but I'm telling you what we see from outside. There's a general perception, including in the civilian side, that, like you said, 5 years, you planned 10 years. Operation Sindoor changed that calculus dramatically. And all of a sudden, you were scrambling homegrown weapons very effectively. So it didn't just demonstrate capability, it demonstrated demand. Because overnight, suddenly drone companies started emerging, startups in software related. There are so many startups in rockets, in more high-end deep tech. All of them started flowering. I think Operation Sindoor, if we look back, maybe 2 years from now, is the benchmark moment where that shift happened. So now the trick is, how do I take this de-risk behavior to an institutional level? And which is what the general is saying, the industry, defense industry, and what you're also asking. I think the best model is the American model. The American flywheel was built on, you demonstrate the prowess of the equipment, pick some dummy country for a war, unleash your equipment there.
Right.
If they succeed, then that's a great model. Then you bring it back. It's an incentive for the private sector. More of them, they come in, and that flywheel operates differently. In our case, Operation Sindoor was that moment.
Was a live demonstration, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now that you have de-risked, you have mentally de-risked, you can see the impact. I was just watching 2 days ago on CNBC Bharat Forge, Baba Kalyani.
Baba Kalyani.
And he was flagging this point. He said that, look, in 2014 I was nobody. Today I am somebody in business. And I'm not stopping at this. Now I'm getting into the chip manufacture.
Yes, semiconductors.
Business. Yeah, semiconductors. Not to manufacture, but the supply chain. So finally I'll round up by saying that if India has to think ahead, Atmanirbhar is a great destination, but it won't happen in the next 5 or 10 years, which means you have to insert yourself into the global supply chains. And with like-minded countries whom we are trusted partners, which is very clear now. Geopolitics is separating the trusted and the untrusted, right?
So on that geopolitical note, it's my turn to Ambassador Yash Sinha, who of course looks at it on a strategic aspect, and also how nations now behave with each other, how they interact with each other, and in which place India is today. Defense is not just standalone. Foreign policy and defense policy or national security policy all intertwine. What your thoughts on how India can go towards what Anil said, Atmanirbhar Bharat, or self-reliant, and modernization of the armed forces, taking into account India's relations with different countries, and you've worked in different countries. You, in fact, also been ambassador to Venezuela. So I don't need to remind other people, I mean, not to this audience really, but the other people who don't know. So your thoughts on that?
Well, at the outset, Nitin, thank you for having me, in general, for hosting us, the lovely locale. I've always maintained that foreign policy and defense policy are two sides of the same coin. And I recall way back in 92, actually, it was quite a coincidence. I was the first foreign service officer to be sent to the Ministry of Defense.
There you go.
And I lasted all of 3 months and came back and became Deputy Secretary Pakistan.
Yeah.
But something that I've always believed in, and I'm glad that now in the Ministry of Defense you have, of course, you have a CDS,
Yes.
and you have a Department of Military Affairs, and you have serving officers manning those posts. But this is my personal view, that I think the Foreign Service and the military the armed forces need to work much more closely together, not just 2 or 3 posts in each other's ministries and a handful of defense advisors in missions abroad, because now with this the arena of multi-domain warfare, you don't have time, and I think General Shukla mentioned it. So in a situation like that, when you're looking at acquisitions, I recall the process of acquisition in India was so tortuous that by the time you got something, if at all, the time had well passed and something new. And now, when technology is developing every other day, so to speak, I think you need to follow a mantra. You have to balance technological national or technology nationalism and acquisitions from abroad. And a simple mantra that I read somewhere: build what is possible,
Right.
partner with what is necessary, and acquire what is urgent.
Absolutely.
Now, if you follow that mantra, and we are in the stage where we have to, because we still aren't powerful enough or powerful economically or technologically to be completely Atmanirbhar.
Sure.
But certainly involving the private sector is important. I read about the Zorawar
Light tank, yeah.
light tank with L&T. It's excellent. You've got, apart from the defense PSUs, you have the private sector. But I think you need far greater involvement of the private sector and in technology. Someone mentioned software. We are supposed to be IT giants. We should make full use of that, because we are exporting our talents to the West when we have such institutions of excellence in India. And what is happening now, it's very transactional. You see what's happening in terms of relationships, and I'm talking about
Foreign
international,
relations,
international relationships.
Yeah.
They have all become very transactional. We are trying to get our ships through the Strait of Hormuz by negotiating with the Iran on one side, with the United States on the other side. But shouldn't there be a time where we, by ourselves, you can't militarily extract them, you could if you were powerful enough, but certainly when your ships come under attack, your people get killed, you have to look at how you can retrieve a bad situation. We import so much of our energy, and don't forget, this is in our extended neighborhood. It's not, I wouldn't say Russia or Ukraine, because that's also not too far now, especially in this globalized world. But this is in our neighborhood. You see the globe or the map, the world map, you see how near we are from the arena of conflict, and how many of our seafarers and our ships and ships carrying tankers, super tankers carrying natural gas and oil for us. So I think we really need to move fast. And for that, I think we need agile thinking also. And that is why I come back to the point that I made, that the defense forces, the armed forces, and our foreign ministry, our MEA, and the foreign service needs to work.
Cross postings and much more coordination, much more close policy making perhaps is required. And I think you're right, except for one joint secretary in the Ministry of Defense, rest are sort of at the lower level from the Foreign Service and from the military also. They are in various departments in the MEA. But you are absolutely right that if you need to look at the larger picture, this two arms of the government or two domains of the government need to move together. But we'll come back to you on other de-risking, like what Anil said. But let me turn to General Sengupta on the private sector's promise versus the delivery. How do you, an innovative product or something that has been demonstrated as a demonstrator, technology demonstrator, how do you handhold them in the army especially to make them into a useful product and which can sustain itself, also have surge manufacturing capability? I think one of the aspects of NotTech or something similar has been that. So if you can explain a little bit how you're going about it.
I'll give you certain examples to start with. For example, we'll start with the drones. Our command is deployed on the altitude areas. We guard the passes of Uttarakhand and Himachal. the technology cannot be developed overnight, as was brought out by Mr. Padmanabhan. And we can't become Atmanirbhar overnight.
Yes.
And also taking a leaf out of what General Raj Shukla was trying to bring out regarding Maven and the other one, sir. Lattice. Sir. So those kind of systems are also being worked upon. I will not disclose as to
Sure.
how it is being done, but in this forum it would suffice to say that those kind of systems we have to develop as per our operational requirements. Again, we are not working at sea level, we are working at certain altitude. We are working in certain terrain conditions and certain weather conditions which are not replicated many places in the world. And we are also territorially bound. Whereas the US may be an expeditionary force which is going out and deploying Maven all over the world at their various locations for fire support and decision making. For us to have a Maven related to a valley, we need a communication system, a network which works there, and then put in AI to come out with the decision making so that we can control multiple fire support systems.
Sure.
Now those multiple fire support systems, whether it be drones, whether it be artillery fire, and all are also part of modernization. That's where I spoke about the changes in mindset.
Yes, exactly.
And
I think that's a fair point, because while you give your requirements, technology may not evolve so fast as requirements
Exactly.
evolve. And I think that's the process that you have to follow. But I think it needs to be speeded up as we go along. At this point, I need to take a break. Don't go away. We are in this fascinating conversation on Sainya Adhunikaran or military modernization, a discussion or ek vartalap, as we have said. And we'll come back. Don't go away.
Firepower at 14,000 feet. The Indian Army's Central Command at a high altitude Himachal Valley. Shipkila. The final frontier before China occupied Tibet. Here, the Indian tricolour flies proud. Unwavering. A constant eye on the horizon.
उनको ऑब्जर्वेशन में रखिए, उनकी मूवमेंट को ट्रैक करते रहिए एंड 15-15 मिनट बाद मुझे रिपोर्ट करते रहिए.
Welcome to the middle sector. Quiet but critical. Over jagged peaks, roaring rivers, and strategic highways, we document these ramparts of India's defense in LAC logs, along Himachal's Himalayan heights.
Welcome back to this conversation we are having at Kasauli, courtesy the Central Command as far as the venue is concerned. And of course, very insightful conversation that you've already heard. Taking it forward from what General Sengupta just said, I want to go back to Anil Padmanabhan. He spoke about Mark 1, Mark 2, innovation to user, something that can be used by the armed forces effectively to go into that. Now, you look at the startup ecosystem, the innovation ecosystem in the financial world or even otherwise. What is your assessment about the appetite for quick turnaround as far as from innovation or from R&D to a product? Have you come across as far as these issues are concerned? Because military needs a robust, rugged equipment ultimately.
Within the desire is definitely there, but how do you transform that into intent? But definitely, in deep tech also, I've traveled to IIT Madras, as you know, and spoken to the innovation system there.
Right.
There are, a couple of them are now unicorns right now, and so in deep tech, so there is a great interest and desire, but I go back to my original point that how do you de-risk? Because every one of them is looking for a de-risk factor because of the risk element. And you see, they are funded mostly by venture capitalists. Very rare that they are bootstrapped. So in that scenario, the VCs ask these very tough questions, right? And to answer that, you need to de-risk, and that's where the defense forces become very critical. Because they are the first buyer. The government of India.
And perhaps the only buyer.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly, the only buyer, unless variant technologies you use. So if you have the question that all of them ask is that will the military buy the product? See, that's a difficult question to answer because they also, like you said, it's a moving target.
Right.
Every day there is a new. As the general said, in 6 months, I don't know what's going to change.
Right.
So it's a very difficult question to answer even for them. But that assurance should be there. So another would be, to de-risk that, you do it like a kind of pilot project which the general alluded to. So, you handhold them initially. So you create the comfort level for them to undertake the kind of research that is required to produce. It's not so much the cost, the research costs. The capital costs are not so high, but the research costs, because you need lots of research for this kind of sophistication.
Sure.
The other is, you have a reasonable time frame, the point you're asking.
Right.
I think that accountability will come once the comfort level is put in place between the military and the researcher. So it is a very critical phase, and proof of concept will come as and when. Like in the case, India lives in a very difficult environment. So the Americans need to go find countries to stage a war and test their equipment. Not good news, but unfortunately in our case, our neighborhood is so hostile. You have definite opportunity to test a lot of equipment. The general mentioned drones. Yeah. So that is something which, you can move very, very fast. And in budgets don't matter, as Iran has proved. In asymmetric warfare, you can have $1 billion aircraft or missile, but $100 drone can take you down, as the Russia-Ukraine. So going back to your question, definitely the appetite is there. The question is you have to give them that comfort to translate that into reality.
So I think more interaction and faster decision making is what is required.
Like yesterday. Decisions are yesterday.
Yesterday, yeah, exactly. But that brings me to General Raj Shukla. And you spoke about companies like Anduril and others. We've spoken about it on my programs also. In fact, the Anduril top leadership team was in India. They met me also. And their thing is they look at India as a big opportunity. Now, transactional sense will always be there amongst these defense companies which come from abroad. How do we get the best out of them while protecting our own technical or technological sovereignty and the requirement that we have? How do we balance that? Because you've been working on this field for quite some time.
So see, what we need is a cultural and structural transformation. I don't need drones, I need dronery. I do not. Platforms is not my problem. Platforms are coming. The problem is that violence in the future will be delivered through software. How do I procure software? You can't procure software. So let's do exactly what the Ukrainians have done. I'm saying just replicate it.
Sure.
So dronery has emerged as air power. Now you have to give me just 2 minutes
Sure.
for this to be driven home. So when the war starts in February 2022, they are a country without an air force or a navy. They have nothing. They start with those drones. They create this Delta, this AI-enabled platform.
Right.
They create it. The analogy is the same. They are the only military. They are only people. But now that they've got the products, they are becoming Walmart of the world. Now, this is the point I want to make. So what has dronery done? 35 or 40 kilometers on either side, and I made this point many times, artillery has been pushed back. There is no artillery. Field gunners like
Yes,
me
like
are
you.
obsolete. You just have to swallow it.
Right.
Tanks don't move. The co-commanders from the armored corps, but sorry, it doesn't move. They don't move. Infantry, which was getting away now, infantry is picked up by surveillance drones in 5 minutes and taken off in 8 minutes. That
FPVs.
whole area, the king and queen are drones. Ammunition supply is drones. Rations is drones. Casevac is drones. We saw in, Corsair or whatever,
Yeah.
Hormuz. And now what has happened with drones, I'm saying this, dronery has become air power. So what was happening in 35 kilometers, they finally discovered they could hit with these drones 2,500 kilometers. Spider web,
When they've been
strategic
deep
air
into
power.
Russia. Yeah.
And now what have they started doing? Energy grid, St. Petersburg. I mean, Putin is worried. It is signaling, it is all that kind. And over the last 2 weeks, you have to just follow these people. What they have done in the enabling logistic arena, 100 kilometers to 200, trains, trucks, supply chains. So now the ground commander or whatever joint commander there has got dronery as close air support to create a favorable air situation, strategic air power. It is dronery. Now, how can you acquire dronery through DAPP or whatever? It can't be done. So I've got a very practical solution. I'm saying if we allocate 50,000 crores for dronery, give it to Central Army Command and say now we've got unicorns. 10 saal baad, 5 startups. 5 startups who have the potential of becoming Enduril, Palantir or whatever. Come under him, put the IFA here. You have to have a rolling DPP. Subah likhi, sham ko amend kar di. You can't do it from there. And why can't we create it? Just as the Ukrainians have done. And look at in terms of metrics. Now see, we have to also get our standards right.
Right.
They didn't have an Air Force or a Navy. 6 years behind or into the war. If we are behind the Ukrainians, who is to blame? The metrics are no longer USA. In fact, the Americans are learning. Trump, you remember, humiliated Zelensky and said, you don't have the cards.
Yeah.
In epic fury, he was begging Zelensky, send your counter drone Merovs mere ko do.
And now they're
And not only
looking at the
Merovs,
markets in
Merovs
yeah.
with counter drone teams.
Yes.
You take it from me, Nitin. Ukraine is going to become the military, whatever.
The entrepreneur.
Yeah, the arsenal of tomorrow. All on the back of this. I just want to give me 1 more minute. Look at this Lattice. Now, what does Lattice do? The software. So it is basically targeting. So what men were doing, intelligence targeting. Today you have software that powers military autonomy. It enables drones to maneuver through space, move information, identify objects of interest, and transform that data into objects of interest and targets. So it is years of training how to differentiate a bird from an aircraft, a bird from a drone, a civilian aircraft from a military aircraft. And here now, it is algorithms. Algorithms in labs, you give them 6 lakh images. But once they discover all that, in the end what happens? That autonomously now, software is inferring targets from these objects of interest.
True.
Then retaining custody in time and space of the targets. And now algorithms are telling the targets to shoot. This is autonomy. Now this whole thing has come together in Ukraine, it has come together in Venezuela, it is coming together in USA. And we have these unicorns, we have these startups, you have to put them under an operational commander and they cannot be acquired. They have to be discovered.
Yes.
And you
So-
give it to him 5 years. Why can't we create those जो वहाँ Dronery की है, replicate it
So
around the LC,
let's get an operational commander's thoughts on this. What General Raj Shukla just said, General Sen Gupta.
I actually want to assure everybody here that through the Integrated Research and Development Funds over the last 2 years, we have had around 60 odd projects going on. And as General Raj Shukla was alluding to, a large number of these projects have fructified to the level where we have gone into placing of orders and developing those equipment innovations so that they can be deployed in field. While I'll not bring out the electronic warfare or the cyberspace issues, but what I shall talk about is, let's say, autonomous systems.
Yes.
Autonomous systems which require autonomous decision making. When we discussed it with our corps commander and the brigade commanders around 2 years back, it was met with looks as if I am speaking in Greek. But currently they are being developed, and how they will be utilized, obviously I can't bring out.
Yes.
But I would like to assure you, they are being integrated into the training philosophies and the operational philosophies of the lowest level of subunits.
That is very good to know.
Otherwise, what will happen is these will remain as demonstrators.
Sure.
Therefore, while we may not have at command level the capability to develop industrial captains or industrial following where one industry supports us to develop one product, at our level what we have done is we have earmarked or selected a number of developers or manufacturers who can provide us certain amount of equipment and their spares so as to sustain this while it's deployed and operational. A large number of this, including drones, unmanned ground vehicles, some systems of other types of domains of warfare are currently deployed and they are being sustained.
And they will be scaled up as you go along, I suppose.
What General Raj Shukla alluded to, that whether we are able to get a single industry to support a single product as a champion in one sector is what we should have in the future.
True.
How it will come about will be obviously after we learn where all we are required to make amends, so as to make the process more efficient, faster, and actually deliver the bang for that buck.
Yes. Raj, I just want to take you up on that, and I know you will have that thought, but that's why. That there was a thought some years ago that let's select a few, half a dozen industries or defense manufacturers, defense companies, and make them champions. Some in land systems, some in air, some underwater, that kind of thing. And we now have a good range of companies in India, Indian private companies, Indian entities, who can be given a particular domain to work on as their first priority or strength. Is that a model that India should follow?
In my view, that is the only way. And we have to be transparent about it. See what happens. The army commander is absolutely right. Say he knows, see, we all know. Achha, by the way, the first point is that this is a high-tech game.
Yes.
So while there are many startups and some of those startups they are aspiring, the real capable will be one of two.
Yeah.
There is a rare annual, there is a rare talent here. Now in our procurement system, the problem is if I know that Anil is a good startup, how do I identify him? Because there will be allegations.
Yes.
Ki bhai mere ko kya tha, ye wo. So we just have to come clean on this now and publish a policy of national champions. Moment you publish a policy of national champions, there's JS signing off on it. He is protected. You have to say that in these 10 years, these are the following startups have matured and you have given them orders through a fair process of IDEX. And see what will be the consequence of that today in the long term. But today he has the confidence to say that if I don't deliver on timelines, please cut the money from my contract. हमारे यहाँ की पूरी फितरत क्या है? HAL बोलेगा 2 साल और दे दो.
Extend करो.
This how will it?
LD.
And the proof of the pudding is, I mean, that is an amazing feat. The YX-44 Fury, an autonomous fighter jet, Firstly, he beat Boeing and Lockheed in the competition.
Right.
And then he produced the first वो क्या कहते हैं
Prototype.
prototype in 568 days.
Yes.
अभी भी हम आमका की 10-10 साल की बात कर रहे हैं. So this is the next thing in procurement.
True.
The point is, I think Anindya raised it, that when software changes are happening 2 weeks, hardware changes are happening 4 weeks, they have laid down in procurement manuals abroad that major combat platforms 3 years.
Yes.
The best one has to come in 3 years. ये AMCA 10 साल की luxury is gone. 10 साल बाद 10 autonomous jet बन जाएंगे. AMCA will become history.
No, so I think
and just 1 minute, Nitin, and so the second point. Any upgrades 1 year, and now the catch. Any AI software related product 3 months. So that is it. और हमारे यहाँ है startups. They may not be perfect, but I'm very sure if we institutionalize this concept of national champion or whatever.
Let me come back to Ambassador Yash Sinha. You know, in today's global scenario, India is actually hemmed in from various sides, and it has hostility coming towards it in every respect, in terms of supply chain, in terms of international relations, in terms of multilateral organizations, and actually, if you look at it, India is alone in that sense. What is your sense that India should do to protect its sovereignty, of course, not just political and territorial sovereignty, but technological sovereignty? And also, like you said, I think I liked that sentence where you said you procure when urgent from abroad. Something similar on international relations, which also is part of the flip side of national security policies. What do you, prescribe for India as far as navigating the current uncertainties in the world is concerned? Because your supply chains can be from anywhere.
Listen, I mentioned that, relationships have become transactional.
Yeah.
Somehow, and I'm from the old guard now, I feel that we still live in that modernistic past, preaching. We have to give that up because that doesn't really serve any purpose. And that's why we don't react to each and every situation, because we react to situations depending on what we consider to be our national interest.
Right.
But that is why when you're talking about weaponization of supply chains,
Yes.
you de-risk, and you have terms like friend shoring, near shoring, which ensures that in times of crises, we talked about Venezuela.
Right.
Now, I recall when I was there way back in 2008, 2007 to 9, we were buying quantities of oil. OVL went in there, bought, but then it went through a lots of ups and downs. And now again, Venezuela has emerged as a major supplier. It has the largest proven reserves of oil in the world. And so that is why we have to be quick. Of course, this time Venezuela came to us, courtesy you know whom. But I think we really need to be nimble there in terms of ensuring our supply chains are not affected.
True.
It's easier said than done because you have one country that sits on all the critical rare earths and the magnets and the minerals, but you really need to work around as best as you can. And that is, and one point, if I may,
please.
which is not there part of your question, we haven't talked about space.
Yes.
So it reminded me that way back during 9/11, I happened to be posted in New York, and there was a committee on the peaceful uses of outer space.
Yes.
And I used to be fascinated as to what that committee did, till the gentleman who was covering that committee asked me to step in because he was going on leave for the committee. And I discovered that it was very technical, and the people who ran it were all scientists, space scientists, etc., who had a lot of experience. And now we have a situation where space is being weaponized.
Yes, of
and
course.
it's not something new. It's been happening for a while. Now we have certain capabilities in space. Are we maximizing the benefits or the technologies that we have? Can we do something? I just want to leave that as a thought.
No, it's a good thought, and which let me come back to Anil, because he is now also interacted with some of the space scientists and startups. ISRO used to be a holy cow. It's no longer the only one that is doing the work in space. And of course, there is a Defense Space Agency also, which has been established, which is looking at various usage of space, both in peace and in war. But what is your experience as far as space ecosystem is concerned, innovation or startups?
I think actually it's a great thing you brought up ISRO, because that's a good model to follow. Like in defense, ISRO also opened up to private sector very recently. In fact, much later
Right.
than it was opened up for defense. And what they did was, they did exactly what I was saying and what the general is also saying, that they handheld a lot of startups. So one of them is, I think, Skyroot
Yes.
from IIT Madras. And, they, if I'm not mistaken, they have produced their rocket using 3D technology. So which has reduced costs, improved the precision and the capability dramatically. And while I was just coming in, I read somebody has produced a cruise missile in the US using 3D technology.
Right.
Just yesterday or day before yesterday. Which means the costs will come down dramatically. So this, if you follow the ISRO model,
Right.
and you create a kind of network and an ecosystem, because Nitin, what's happened in India, we actually are moving very, very fast. We are forgetting our unfortunate legacy of stasis, that we have suffered for 6 or 7 decades, where basic foundational inclusion was not there. Forget about creating defense or sophisticated capability. So we have basically, last 10-15 years, we have scaled exponentially. And now we are now setting new goalposts, not out of choice, because circumstances. Like the general said, the technology is changing every 2 weeks, so you can't be planning behind. So the ecosystem was missing always. So when you allowed clearance for the entry of private sector, it took a big step towards creating a viable, sustainable ecosystem.
True.
Now we are doing those baby steps of handholding. So an ISRO model is a fantastic model. And my conversations with them, they are young guys. I think the Skyroot guy is just 26, 27.
Right.
And IIT Madras
Yes,
alum.
graduate.
And it was...
It in that lab, in
Yeah,
their
exactly,
lab, it was
in their
done.
innovation lab.
Yeah.
So you have a great model there. Now, you cannot replicate these things, but there are great lessons to be drawn. Primarily, I think we need to continue to create an ecosystem. And lastly, I want to say, in that ecosystem, ease of doing business. I think it is so abysmal today, ease of doing business. I mean, the government of India may claim a lot of great things, but operationally on the ground, especially at the state level, it's a nightmare. I mean, for GST, a more sophisticated thing like GST, you have to, the kind of hoops you need to clear,
Compliances, yes.
even to register as an individual,
True.
is staggering.
Yes.
So ease of doing business is very, very important step to go to ecosystem. All these ideas will remain ideas
it's not,
and until we create a viable ecosystem.
Until that smoothness of system is there.
An ecosystem has to be
That's
created.
true. Be there. But I want to turn to something else, General Sengupta. We're talking about fast changing technology, fast changing use of technology in warfare, all that. How does the Indian Army, and because you command a large body of troops, how does the user, the soldier, the officer, the young officer, the middle level officer, how do you keep up with this? I mean, what are the steps that you've taken so that you remain not just future ready, but also relevant in the present time as far as induction of technology and usage of technology in warfare is concerned?
I'll take you back to the first statement which I made regarding modernization.
Right.
Where I said modernization is not only the replacement or procurement of platforms.
Sure.
Now it is a change in the mindset.
Correct.
So that change in the mindset is what you were actually alluding to.
Yes, of
that
course.
change in the mindset is required right down to the last soldier. And our job in uniform as senior officers, the middle-level officers here, is to ensure that this technology percolates right down.
Correct.
And does not remain as a technology demonstrator as it is most often happens to be in case we don't have adequate scaling. So to ensure that the impact of technology is felt right down to the last man is what is fallout of the EPR or the emergency procurement, what we did last year post-op Sindoor.
Yes.
So the number of drones, the number of unmanned systems, a number of communication systems, a number of networks, mounted infrastructure development, protection measures, night visions, surveillance systems, including cameras and others, the numbers were raised exponentially.
Sure.
Because the numbers were raised exponentially, they have now started percolating down to the lowest level. So the guys who were earlier employing, let's say, one night side within 15 guys in the years
Yes.
earlier,
Gone
couple
by,
of
yeah.
years earlier, now he has much more.
Right.
So earlier he would find 3 or 4 drones in a battalion. So he's scared to lose them.
Right.
Now he has many more.
Yeah.
Even in 2019, in Victor Force, we had gotten drones to track terrorists. And that time it was a totally novel concept.
Sure.
But we didn't have those numbers. So the soldier is scared to use them
Sure.
because he doesn't want to lose it.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. That is where the mindset is changing on ground.
What about training on this? The new systems that come in. How do you keep up the training?
The training for expensive systems or one-time fire systems like missiles and all has to be based on simulators.
Okay.
So again, the numbers of simulators what we are procuring now is much more than what we had done in the past.
Right.
And that is also related to certain on-ground simulators like we have laser-based target systems. We have now containerized ranges
Okay.
where we can fire even within built-up areas. We have got 100-meter range even at Oli,
I see.
where we don't need to have a cleared area and all. It's a containerized range.
Right.
We have got simulators for drones. We've got simulators for unmanned systems, ground systems also. So a driver or a dozer operator can also work on the dozer on a simulator and learn accordingly. So the training itself is getting transformed, and it is getting transformed in the 18 regimental training centers we have under the command, as well as in the formations and the battalions.
That's very good to know, because it is going parallelly with the development of
We
technology.
are trying our best.
Dialogue. Yeah, I know. I can see that, and that is visible also on ground when you go and meet the industry people. They are very enthused that these demands are coming in there. But finally, as we wind down and basically look at the time, final thoughts from you, Ambassador Yash Sinha, and then I'll go around the panel.
I think hearing the experts speak on defense modernization, what immediately comes to one's mind is that speed. Now, for speed, you need to discard the L1 model. How do you identify a national champion when you have this L1 model that sort of we have? So we really need to move in that direction. Globally, we are doing reasonably well, despite what some people say, because I think we have been able to multi-align.
Right.
Now, sometimes multi-alignment doesn't work as fast as you would like it to. But if you went to Claude right now and asked about India's foreign policy in the last 10 years, it will tell you that because India has been successfully able to multi-align, it can encounter scenarios, black swan events, with greater confidence.
Sure. What Adil's term, de-risking, basically, no, what you're saying is right. India is the only country which is a member of the BRICS and the Quad.
And the Quad. And the SCO.
And the SCO.
So I think, and it's a G20.
G20.
So sometimes it doesn't, sometimes it creates problems. But
that's true.
I think the way the world is heading is better to do that than to put all your eggs in one basket, whichever basket that is, and then suffer the consequences.
True. Yeah.
So I think, but we need to be more robust too.
And agile, like you said.
Agile and robust.
Robust.
I go back to what's happening in our extended neighborhood.
Sure.
So I think at some point, we would really need to see what we can do.
Absolutely. Good thoughts. Anil, you, and then final word to, as usual, to General Raj Shukla.
Nitin, my final thoughts are that one, from whatever we discussed today, it's very clear that it's a work in progress. And if I had to sum it up, I would say it's a cup half full. But the thought I would leave you with is that given all that we discussed, particularly the sense of urgency that both the generals conveyed, I would suggest that India creates a kind of, not unit, a loose kind of grouping of severely bright individuals who are given some kind of leeway to become the futurists for India. I mean, officially India should recognize it. So, I mean, if they do it already within government, I have no idea. But I am saying that we should. So, in my civilian life, the thoughts, intersections that I have had is MIT Media Lab, MIT Poverty Lab, the bunch of researchers who are just researching into the future, doing nothing else. So if you go up to them, they have no agenda except the future.
Sure.
It's so nebulous. But when they produce, it's
Right.
like say electronic ink, MIT Media Lab, then we are shocked. This is 5 years of research. So I would say India should create
Futuristic
futuristic.
technologies
It
and,
should draw from defense all the domain experts. And like you have a PM Economic Advisory Council.
Yes.
Why can't you have a PM Futurist Council?
Sure, sure. Raj?
So 3 quick points. Firstly, last word is already always the army.
No,
commander.
I will give him that
But-
among the panelists.
Yeah, but
I
just
was
3
talking.
quick points.
Yes.
One is the way to get rid of L1 is by embracing H1. Why? Because when you embrace H1 and scale up, you will get to much better than L1.
Explain H1 to the
So
audience.
H1 is the best talent, the best product, in exact reversal.
Sure.
See, just yesterday, that guy who has found out those flaws in the CBSE,
Yes, CBSE
IIT
exams.
Kanpur has picked him up.
Yes.
But he's a young guy, good guy. He says, "Ye paisa hi theek nahi de rahe hain." What I'm saying is, the army should have those kind of flexibilities.
Right.
Pick best 100 software. Ab ye badli karna padega.
Chalo, great.
Really, that's 1 minute.
Yeah.
But allow me this point because we've been repeatedly making it.
Yeah.
Futures, extremely important. Our track should become tri-service. It should be futures.
Command, perhaps.
Yes, and it should be cross-pollinated. We should set the example.
True.
Get civil servants, researchers up in Shimla, and you can do so much. And I'll just tell you why futures are so important. जब future की बात करोगे, strategy era is so important. Look at the US military in epic fury. $1.5 trillion, 800 bases, 11 aircraft carriers, and you can't open the strait. Why? There's a reason. The US Army is so large. I mean, you brought down 160 ships, yes, but none of your ships can enter the strait.
True.
It is not small enough, agile enough, autonomous enough, simple.
Absolutely.
So therefore there is a great adage in the army that strategy without tactics may be the slowest route to victory. If your strategy is right, tactics kharab hai, pahunch jao. But tactics without strategy is the noise before defeat.
Yes.
So I will say strategy and the futures are so right. I mean, the American military,
Exactly.
40 days of epic fury was the noise before defeat.
Yeah.
It is so important to get force structures, strategies right. So this R-track, and I've been Army Commander R-track, you've got 35 Lieutenant Generals, delegate training, and this is the difficult thing. Asha, and I'm not saying a lot of good stuff is happening, futures and all,
Yes.
but why can't we institutionalize it? And not only try service, cross-pollinate, open it up to the country.
True.
The best people should be there and all that kind, and that should be looking at futures.
That's right. Fair point. General Sengupta, your last word. You are a host, a co-host, I would say.
Thank you.
So, your last word.
Actually, I am quite impressed by the wide range of discussions what we underwent, because we didn't foresee the scope will grow so wide. Before I finish off, I would like to speak about de-risking,
Sure.
which Anil brought out a number of times. De-risking, and I'll relate it to the procurement process right now and how we visualize relating it to the champions in the future. We are actually endowed with an opportunity in India. The opportunity is we have an LAC to the north and line of control to the west, and two adversaries who are actually now joined at the hip.
Right.
And in the north and in the west, every sector has a different profile.
Sure.
So the equipment what is used anywhere is may not be fitting another place,
Right.
except for maybe communication or some site of surveillance equipment. Rest, because the terrain, the weather, the altitude, the operational challenges because of the adversary, things are different. So it presents us with a great opportunity. What is that opportunity? That opportunity is that suppose I am doing an IR&D. I'll tell you a simple thing. For not freezing water so that my troops who are deployed at 16,000 feet, so
Sure.
they are supplied with water in winters. If I am able to achieve that, and there is somebody who can deliver that, and he gets an assured order that next 5 years he will be able to deliver us that technology and also upgrade it, so that that area is always having water which does not freeze even in December or January when the outside temperatures are -30.
Sure.
Suppose this is
Yeah, this is
possible.
one example, yes.
So, the IR&D what we have done has achieved this. The new DAP what has come about
is likely to come.
is
right.
likely to come
Yes.
up around, and the processes which have been simplified have ensured that in case in the IR&D it was put that this company can give you a supply in case it succeeds in the IR&D is working. So we have got some sort of a groundwork done for a champion there. And now that de-risks the entire thing for that guy. Now in the process, if we get higher technical things, like General Raj Shukla was bringing out, so there will be lesser number of players. Because there will be lesser number of players,
Yes.
so if those players are restricted to certain sectors and those companies are supporting those sectors, so we have those de-risk companies.
And
doing
assured orders for them as well
assured
as
orders and
a regular
scaled up.
supply. Scaled up.
That
yeah.
is an idea which maybe will work out in the future.
True.
But we are working at it in various domains.
Yes.
We have got to work on AI, robotics, drones, cyber,
Of
electronic warfare, and space enablement. And as far as modernization is done, what I've spoken about, all the emerging technologies which require shorter development cycles have to be supported by the processes which have to be simplified.
Sure.
And we have to ensure that in the end, our soldier is equipped and future ready. And he is ready to absorb any emerging technology and sort of merge it with his tactics.
True. Absolutely. No, I agree. And I think that's what, let me sum it up. It needs a whole of nation approach, which has been, I think, articulated by none other than the Prime Minister. And here is where I think what we just spoke about, and exactly the kind of panelists that we had. We had someone from diplomacy, someone from financial economic world, and one former practitioner, now a thinker, and a current practitioner. And therefore, we had this kind of a insightful discussion. I thank you all, gentlemen. Very insightful and very informative, more than anything else. I'm sure our viewers will really like this. So do keep sending your comments. Your feedback is extremely important. You know where to reach us. If you like this video, share it. And of course, if you're a subscriber, spread it around. If you're not, do subscribe to Bharat Shakti. That's all we have this time. Goodbye.